people, their elders past, present and future. And when you actually consider that country in the indigenous language means interconnectedness with people and community, it's quite appropriate that we actually reflect and acknowledge our First Nations people today as we gather as an interconnected community to discuss and to hear about what we're doing in the world of assistive technology and human augmentation technology as well. So with that, may I, on your behalf, pay our respects, and that we also consider and appreciate seriously the importance of Voice to Parliament and our respect to our First Nations people. And welcome to the How. It's not exactly what it's going to look like, but I won't steal any of that thunder because Robert's going to walk you through that journey. So with that, I welcome CEO and co-founder of ARIA Research, Robert Yarsley, to talk to you and share with you who we are as an organisation and then what is the Human Augmentation Laboratory itself. Robert.
Thank you, Warren. Thanks everyone for coming today. I know it's fairly short notice, that was mostly my fault. I just want to kick off by just explaining, for those that don't know, and a lot of you know bits and pieces about what we're about, what ARIA is and how the HAL came about, because they're tightly connected. So my company, ARIA Research, is developing augmented reality in audio. It is a non-invasive bionic vision system. We are building this to basically build a commercially scalable solution to vision disability that's applicable to low vision and completely blind people. It's a population of about more than 338 million people today, and it's going to grow to over 500 million people by 2050. Interesting problem to solve. This is my first assistive technology company. For those that know me, I've got a deep background in bringing to market and innovating deep tech. So this has been quite the journey for us, and as an outsider coming in, we bring an interesting perspective around other state-of-the-art engineering and design approaches that normally don't exist in the medtech industry, and we're quite excited about what's been evolving out of this, the TechCentral bids and ecosystem and infrastructure development. So, just want to show you a little bit about the technology just for a moment and what it is and how it works. So, looks like a pair of glasses, about the weight and form factor of a pair of Ray-Bans, connects to a smartphone, has a sophisticated sensor system that can map your immediate environment, make a spatial representation, and then feed that back as sound, hence the non-invasive nature of the technology. This is just a little video of the first use of the technology by a blind user, who's Marx Valencio, who turned out to be one of our machine vision systems engineers on the project. So what you see here on the left is a debug output for light-dependent people, not really relevant to Marx, but helpful to most of our sighted engineers on the left. So classic machine vision classification at the top, depth mapping and three-dimensional reconstruction. Nothing particularly surprising here, but the objective exercise is to basically compress down a lot of the sensor functionality you might see in an autonomous vehicle into something that can run for 8 to 10 hours off a smartphone battery. That's a massive leap forward. So the reason I would want to talk about our tech for a sec is it was one of the reasons why HAL's happening. We needed a research and clinical trial facility to validate this technology. So bear in mind, Marx has no sight. He took a bullet to both optic nerves about 20 years ago, so he can't see. And Marx here has basically spatial perception and proprioceptive ability to identify, reach out and touch small objects, which really wasn't possible before. So quite remarkable tech. So we are looking for other companies who believe in research projects, organisations who believe they have similarly impactful technology So that brings us to health. So we needed to run clinical trials because it was going to be a medical device. A lot of the things that we needed to objectively measure and validate the ability of the device existed in university labs, here, there, everywhere, but nothing was together. So we thought, well, we're going to have to build a lab ourselves. Turned out we heard about this, infrastructure initiative with TechCentral at the same time. And we thought, well, if we built this, we don't need it all the time. We only need it for about half the time. Why don't we make this an open shared facility? Because I'm sure other people are having the sort of problems that we're having with gathering data, organising co-design, bringing in trial participants, all these myriad little issues that stack up to often become insurmountable in developing and commercialising deep tech. So that's really the motivation how we started with HAL. And it's evolving. And it is also quite a loose approach to begin with. That is intentional because we want to build this in response to the needs of the community, not what RA thinks we need, and you guys can come in if that fits. So it's an open ecosystem approach, and it needs to be a bit messy to start with, but I'll show what we've got so far. Feel free to critique or offer suggestions or ideas or bring resources to the party. So, what the hell? Why are we here? Basically, as I mentioned, this could be something quite special. By the way, people ask you why on earth is it called HAL? It is a bit of a Stanley Kubrick joke. I'm a big 2001 fan. And we need to pick a name. And human augmentation laboratory does sound cool, and it captures the essence of what this is about, which is the augmentation of our sensory systems, our motor systems, and our cognitive systems as humans. And that is most relevant to people living with disabilities, i.e. the development of assistive technologies and solutions. And that's the first foot forward around the HAL, is to look at this problem space. Yes, it's very close to our heart, and we do a lot of this stuff at ARIA, around vision, but we know that there's a bunch of other projects out there that see applicability and need similar sort of tools as well. That also led us to, organisations people in the virtual production space, and who actually use all sorts of tools as well. So, big screens, virtual production, sound, lighting, all this sort of stuff. Well, we need that for simulation. They want that for, video production. I'm like, well, it's the same facility basically. Why don't we just team up a bit and make this more useful and also more self-sustainable if we can generate some revenue out of it. So, also what you get out of that is some cross-pollination from different fields as well. So the intention here is there's potential to be a bit of a melting pot as well. So there's a lot of diverse people in this audience, and that's intentional. That's the spirit of HAL. So, what have we got? Well, to start with, let's talk about what we're trying to achieve in the broadest possible terms. So, it's enabled by the New South Wales State Government through some TechCentral funding, about $1.4 million. ARIA is committing a similar amount of money over the next 4 years as well. ARIA is obviously leading the project. We're designing this to run clinical trials and support, test, learn, there's a missing in there. Rapid product iteration for cutting edge human augmentation. So as I mentioned, sensory, physical, cognitive, that's the thematic here. The intention is to make this available, free to students and early stage startups, and a substantial discount to larger organisations. So that's probably more in the virtual production space, or maybe there's a clinical trial piece that someone wants to work on with a funded research project. The hope is that we can act as a hub for deep tech research translation. Think of this as a toolbox, okay? Maybe you only need part of it for part of the time. Maybe the whole slew of bits and pieces that ARIA can offer is really relevant. Both are fine by us. And at the end of the day, we want to encourage heavy use by the TechCentral community. The problem with most labs is they sit idle most of the time, okay? We've seen this time to time, we get reports on this too. Facilities sit idle. So we want to go the other way and try and get to 100% utilisation. It means it's going to be chaotic, but it means a lot of stuff's going to get done. So what's actually here? So you're sitting in 120 square metre simulation lab. Some of you were part of our hope that we get the larger space. It's not going to happen for the simulation space, so this is what we've got to work with. Couple of factors, limitations in the space is we're going to rise up the floor, we're going to tear out all these seats, and basically this is going to be our main simulation lab. So it has basically the components of a first-person holodeck, which is pretty cool. So we're talking about control over the physical space, so things you can touch. So it's appropriate for human robotic research. So things like, a mock living room or a mock kitchen, no problem. We'll have the equipment behind this wall, roll it out, set it up, away you go. We're talking about light control. We're talking about image control for background scenery. Same with audio simulation. There's a sample here in the corner of some of the tech. We're looking at programmable spatial audio. So it's a multimedia mix of capabilities which add up to the ability to do instrumented simulation very accurately. How? Well, we're talking about 40-odd motion tracking cameras. We're talking about wireless biostat tracking and other cool bits and pieces like that. So, but that's not the only thing we're doing here. The space that we all met in upstairs, we're actually calling the Human State Lab, might have a different name, but the point being is if you happen to be running a project or a trial of some sort, this is a great place to bring trial participants in, interview them, collect basic information. We're even going to be running a mock clinic up there for ARIA. So there's going to be a whole bunch of gear up there around human state testing, which is quite helpful if you're dealing with humans, which most of the people are. There's also workspace for health supported projects, and I'll get into what that means in a minute. So talking about meeting rooms, interview rooms, offices, open plan, workspace, and high-end equipment as well. There's also an electronics workshop, 3D printing workshop, and a compute cluster for simulation AR model training. So this is a real mix of stuff that typically an early stage project needs to lay their hands on, and it's usually pretty difficult to get a hold of, or it's just damn expensive. So let's get into the nuts and bolts for those that aren't familiar. The main components in this room will be a virtual production video wall with ambient lighting above, and that allows virtual video production and some elements of environmental simulation for some applications, which looks a bit like this. I mentioned also motion tracking, so we're probably looking at a package of about 42, or we are, because we ordered them, 42 motion tracking cameras which are on their way from the States at the moment. And that allows very high resolution and complex tracking in an occluded environment. Basically that means we can put walls in the space. That's why we've got so many cameras, which means we can make more realistic simulations as well. So that's what's happening there. The equipment you're seeing here is basically a new concept called a programmable sound wall that's componentized. So depending on the kind of work you want to do in this room, you can basically roll this out and simulate environmental audio. It's pretty cool. And also, fortunately, I don't have time to put the images in here, is wireless biostate tracking, so EEG, EMG, heart rate, GSR, thermal, etc. So this is applicable to a whole bunch of product development research in and around things as broad as cerebral palsy, autism, obviously, vision disability, hearing, quadriplegia, all sorts of interesting stuff. So let's talk utilization. So basically, we're aiming to have half the available time in the lab and the facilities used by anyone in the TechCentral community. That's our goal. The other half is mostly by ARIA, and there's a couple of projects as well from University of Sydney and UTS as well. So there's a whole bunch of time and resource availability, and we've got to figure out who wants what and how to divvy up. That'll be fun. So pre-seed startups, student projects will have free access. The intention here is to make something that is easy to get a hold of. Okay. So a lot of people run waiting around for grant money and have hopes and dreams and waiting around for years to make stuff happen. The intention is to move them more quickly while they're in this facility. By that I mean we're hoping for this 90% utilization. Okay, 100% would be great, but I think things get crazy at that point. And finally, we also have an auditorium space as well, which we will have access to, which is the big lecture theatre that some people have seen. Seats about 140 people. It's pretty huge. Great for running events, product launches, symposium bits and pieces like that. Now, this is where it starts to open up. So that's kind of the toolbox, okay? This is all useless without the people and the projects. So here's where we started. We're thinking about, this is the ideas we have so far. So feel free to throw down any ideas. So we're thinking of a lecture series, basically exploring some of the projects at the HAL. Makes sense, because there's some pretty remarkable researchers, entrepreneurs and scientists in and around this place, and they've got interesting stuff to share. We're looking to provide, this is a resource to incubator programs, and there's a few in the audience today. So think of this as a toolbox you might want to leverage for your incubators as part of your program. Also, this lab and that big lecture theatre are great places for events such as launches and demonstration, because nothing happens without money, and you can get money, and there'll be some fancy kit in here, and you can have the big shiny machines that go big. And finally, consider that this place is a great place to actually do things like co-design for assistive technology, because it's set up as a clinical environment to do that kind of work. It's easy to get to. There's room set up to do this kind of stuff. Clinical trials will be happening anyway. Might be appropriate and a good venue to use. And also for meetups, engineering, university clubs, stuff like that. So that's what we've got so far in terms of supporting or ideas around how this facility can be used. So where to from here? So as mentioned before, I think we are treating the HAL itself as a bit of an experiment around how to innovate in this space, to fill some of the gaps that a lot of us feel. So bend this experiment to your will, feel free to. Maybe you've got something you want to contribute, or maybe there's something you haven't thought about or should consider. HAL is, it's a bit of a sponge. And basically, I'm encouraging people to come in and make decisions. Decisions made by people who show up. So if you want to be involved, don't hold back. And one of our internal goals here is to establish a program, a more formal thing, where we can select and support at least 6 projects in HAL in the first 12 months. And we want to get that set up and running so we can launch it in or before November this year. So that gives you guys a time frame what we're thinking about. So that's it from me. Can I answer any questions to start with before we go find some food and have a chat amongst ourselves? Yeah.
Thanks for that. That's fantastic. I just have a question around supporting. We're supporting 6 projects. Are you envisioning ARIA supporting those 6 projects, or will you have a facility HAL supporting some?
Yeah. So I should cover that. So we're starting with ARIA administering it. So basically there is a governance committee, or call it advisory board, which is made up from myself and 2 researchers. So that's Craig Jin from University of Sydney and C.T. Lin from UTS. So together we're going to sit down and help select some projects. The intention here is the project HAL will be under the stewardship of ARIA, the company, for the first couple of years, and then we're looking to spin it out. So basically all the resources and everything we learn will become an independent entity. Okay? Hopefully that gives you a sense of who's running what. So basically, because it's an experiment and ARIA's chucking a bunch of cash and we don't know exactly what's going to happen, we don't want it to fall over like the first 18 months, because we might need to put more resources in it. So we're sort of incubating the incubator of sorts. But we do want to, if you happen to be running a small university research thing, a project or a business in mind, do come talk to us. So we're trying to figure out, also trying to engage the level of interest. We're trying to partner with and support incubation programs out there as a resource, not compete with them. So there you go, Pete. This is a toolbox for the community to use. And we're not looking to make a buck off this. We just need the facility for ourselves, and it makes sense to share it. That's the motivation here. And we can see the gap in the market, and we're hoping someone else will come take care of this later if it looks like it's working. So I actually want to push it out there into the world and go, we've got our benefit from it, we've got this thing started, yes, we want to be involved, but we want to get it out from under our wing as soon as we can. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay, cool.
Can I ask something on the back of that? Do you see it as like a simple fee for service model?
So this is what we're trying to figure out. So any fee that's going to get charged will be at a massive discount to commercial rates in other labs for a start. So think of it from a cost base upwards. So we've got 1.4 million from TechCentral. IRA is looking to put in a similar amount of money over the next 4 years as well. So we'll keep supporting it. That means that there is a toolbox of technology, about $1 million worth of equipment that you can use. That doesn't cost much. Once it's purchased, it's there, capital investment. We're fortunate enough to have the support of UTS to provide some space. So overheads are very low. The only real couple overheads we have is the intention to hire a lab manager. So there's a resource there to actually help those projects come in so they don't break everything. And they can help tie up afterwards. But yeah, in terms of if you're a startup and you haven't been funded, if you're a university project, expect the access to be free. We're likely to go merit-based. Okay. If you're a fee-paying customer, well, the terms are a bit different. But they're basically looking at a sliding scale or a tiered threshold. And the maximum tier is likely to be, probably half the full commercial rates. So, we want to see, because our cost base, once the investment's made, is low, we're going to keep the overheads low to encourage projects to help them grow. I'm sorry to give you a non-specific answer at this point, because we're still trying to figure it all out. Yeah. No questions, this is wonderful. Must have done a great job. No. Anyone else want to know anything?
No, it's good. Yeah, well, that's it. Some startups coming through. Oh no, it's
No. Just speak
yeah,
up.
that's right. Say for some startups that are interested in using the space and coming in. So pre-seed is okay and able to get started straight away from November?
I love the word question.
Let's do it.
And this is one of the things we need to figure out. This will be a limited resource, and as I mentioned, we're trying to gauge interest. So there's going to be more sessions like this. So once we get a feel for the number of projects out there, that'll give us a guide. We'll also be speaking with people that run the incubator programs, because they know how to whittle down and select better than we do as well. So there is a thematic here I mentioned first, which is we are interested in supporting change at scale. We're not just interested in anyone with half an idea. Are you really motivated to get this done? Have you been putting in the hard yards? Do you have something, if it existed out there in the world, would have life-changing potential for a large number of people? That's what we're looking for. Okay. So there is a quality component to this which is important, and as mentioned before, we're not just going to look internally and pick the winners. No, we're going to be looking to the community from people who know how to do this best. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Will you run any one-to-many type programs to attract some startups so that you can get to know them before you choose the ones that you invest in? Invest time, that is.
So, interesting question. So, as mentioned before, we're in an interesting position where there's a resource base here, but we have no interest in competing with people who are running those kind of incubator programs. Accessing this toolbox is going to be a bit of a balance, okay? So, our target is 6. We suspect that there might be a lot more demand than 6 in the first 12 months. So, we want to look at what that looks like. So, are you a project that needs the entire facility for 2 years straight, and you've got 20 people? Well, we might be able to accommodate you. Are you a project that needs to come in and do a clinical trial for 3 months, and you've got you and 2 other people? Yeah, probably we could probably fit that in. So it's a question of assessing demand, assessing the quality, and then seeing what's reasonable and possible to deliver. As I said, early stage. This is why we're doing the consultation, because we're trying to figure this out. Does that help? Well,
Yeah,
early.
I guess.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Follow up on that is what's the best way to recommend or refer people to you? Is it just going to be one-on-one email introductions, or how would you like that to happen?
I actually have a system for that, which is there's inquiries email for Health TechCentral. You just ping us. It talks about if you're interested, there'll be updates to that page now that we're into this community consultation phase. So I expect that we might be doing an EOR phase, so expression of interest, probably formally or semi-formally. But yeah, I'm hoping to keep this as loose as possible for as long as possible, to really encourage people to go collect the evidence, the data that they need to go raise the capital that they're after, so they can become successful. that's actually thinking how to leverage this resource. And it might suit other purposes as well. So, yeah, but there's inquiries email, come reach out. These will get more and more formal, so there'll be a few more of these consultations, and from that will emerge this, selection or, process of what the system can offer. But it is intentionally wide open right now, and I did not come with a template of how this is going to work, because I need to hear from you guys about what you want happen. Yeah.
Do you have criteria around non-for-profits at all?
Non-for-profits are great. It's a criteria. No. So basically, we need some revenue out of this to keep it sustainable. It's not a lot. We're talking $150,000 a year, and ARIA will be covering the first couple of years, and the TechCentral budget for that as well, so I can figure out the business model. So the first priority is maximum utilisation. If there's they're expecting a fair bit of demand, then there's a quality filter around that. So if we can support you, there will be some sort of process to filter down who actually gets to use the facility. Okay, but whether or not you're a not-for-profit or not really doesn't matter. So go ahead, at the back row.
You mentioned a lab manager. Is there any other technical support that ARIA or the ETS are going to provide, or are you expecting teams to kind of bring their own?
It's a bring your own deal, okay, for the most part. So the reason for that is the cost. So the trade-off for having something that's free to a bunch of people and low cost to others is that it's going to be minimally staffed. So although there might be 6 projects supported at a time, only a couple of those projects might be in the facility at any one time as well. So one person's about the right size in terms of a lab tech support. So that's the trade-off. We hope to have more, but basically we've got to it's $80,000 to $100,000 per head to actually add extra people. The university's in a position to lend across at the moment, because this is sort of an independent community-run enterprise. So yes, we've got one lab tech to start with. We'd like to add more, but for that we will need to generate more revenue. So we're trying to strike that balance around free or low cost, and there is in the deliberate intention that this is partly a build your own thing. Okay, there's a bunch of equipment gear. We're also inviting people who run programs or have equipment to come in and muck in as well. So the people who turn up, the people who contribute, will have more of a say as well.
Yeah, it may come down to collaboration on projects as well. I mean, at least 2 universities are interested here, and always willing to talk.
Yep. Thanks, Pete. That's good. Great to hear. And also there are, as Pete mentioned, there are a few university projects already looking to come in, and obviously they come with their own PhDs and postdocs as well. They might bring lab techs, and we are, as I said, trying to muck in together. I'm hoping for some cross-pollination to happen here as well between projects. So the more concurrent projects we can have using the facility, the better, because that's where opportunities come from. It comes from hearing other people's point of view about how stuff can happen. Any more questions before we actually break for lunch? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the lights turned up, please, Laura? We'll tell you on the top switch, please. So we have a delicious lunch, lots of food, so you're not to go home until it's all eaten. We have drinks downstairs, we're going to turn some music on. Now is an opportunity to have more of a conversation and hear your ideas. Just the top switch, thanks, that's it. And mingle, get to know each other if you haven't met. Anyone in the room, and by all means, please come and ask us any questions. If anyone also would like to have a look at the looks like, feels like, and should be like set of ARIA glasses, we have a sample here to show you as well. They don't work because they look like, feel like, and whatever else. Anyway, thank you all for coming. If any of you need to leave, just leave the money at the door. And more importantly, please stay behind, join us for some delicious lunch and drinks, and look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.